DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. DK's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making baking a cake today. El Chupahueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today. El Chupa Hueso's cooking today. What is he gonna make? Yeah. Decay's making a cake today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Decay's making baking a cake today.
Okay, if everything went according to plan, you should be able to hear me now. Yeah, it looks like it unmuted, and there should be some background music which is playing. Welcome everybody. So a few changes have kind of taken place since last time. For one, I clearly figured out where the camera shows on the workbench. So that will be super useful to know where I'm placing everything. I've got some background music which should be playing and hopefully isn't terribly loud. If somebody wants to... Whiteboards look great. Oh, thanks, David E. Vampire. Just out of curiosity, A, can you hear the background music? And B, what about in relationship to my voice? The background music is new, but haven't really been able to hear what the level is in comparison to how I'm talking. So thankfully I can sort of adjust it on the fly. I'm not certain if I think the music is playing. Yeah, music is playing, so that's good. Oh, excellent. Yeah, I also watched a couple of videos about tweaking the mic. Oh, good. Yeah, I didn't want the background music to be like super prominent. It just kind of there to, you know, fill in the background, really. That's kind of the whole point of it. But I also watched a thing on tweaking the mic to make me sound better based on... So I like added in a compressor, added in a limiter, and forget what the last part was. There's like 3 different things that I ended up doing to it, so that works out. And so the chat screen that I can see is actually pretty small in comparison. But yeah, the whiteboard cabinets are working out really nicely. Couple of minor things about them, like some bubbles started showing up, and part of me is wondering if I need to kind of go in and use sort of a filler and sand it really smooth just to make sure that everything sticks really nicely. Thankfully we have enough of the contact paper to go on it that we could easily cover it again without too much problem. The other thing that I did and figured out, hey Raptor Man, welcome. The other thing I had figured out was how to do a Stream Deck type thing without actually having a Stream Deck. Actually figured out how to hook my phone up in order to transition, mute the mic, start and stop the music, change scenes and things like that, so that's cool. The other thing I figured out was how to get alerts going on there. So should somebody start following me, whatever, it'll actually play an alert, and it should be on the lower left side of the screen. So when that happens, oh, it looks like my sister has rolled in. Yeah, so a number of things, and you know, always changing and growing, and always you know, trying to improve and make it a little bit better every day. So today on the menu, I'm doing 2 different things. I'm making a basically a Korean-based vegetable stock, and oh, looks like my mom rolled in too. I'm making a Korean-based vegetable stock, which is going to be, oh, thanks Raptor Man. It's going to be the basis for kind of an all-purpose stir-fry sauce, which is what Saturday's kind of topic is going to be. It's kind of all about stir-frying, and or not really all about it because there's so much to go into with it, but it's going to be, I've got a recipe that I put together of sort of a basic sauce that can be used for a ton of different things, and I wanted to make a vegetarian version of it because there are those that we know that are of vegetarian nature, and so wanted to make sure that they're represented. And so it should be really good. That's why I'm making this vegetable stock, and then we'll talk, like I said, way more about that. Hey, Real Bake Guy, welcome, welcome. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to make that veg stock, and then we're going to move on to the main dinner for tonight. I'm making japchae. If you're not familiar with japchae, it is a Korean noodle dish that's usually served mostly at like parties and celebrations, although you could very easily eat it on a daily basis. But it consists of Korean sweet potato noodles and then a number of other little components that are put into it. And we'll talk all about that. And then if we look over here on the whiteboard, you'll see there's a couple of little red asterisks. That's just basically notation for myself, because there's going to be little things that I want to talk about specifically with putting everything together here. So, all right, our recipe for the vegetable stock today, really easy, and the methodology is also really easy too. We're going to be using a gallon of water, 1 ounce of dashima, or giant kelp. Japanese would call it kombu, but we're going to be using giant kelp in there. We're going to be using about 5-ish dried shiitake mushrooms. And I say ish because some of the ones that I have are really small, and so I'm going to open up a new bag and we'll add like a couple more in. A pound of, I have written down here, mu or daikon. Mu is the Korean radish, daikon being a Japanese radish. And if you don't have access to Korean radish, you can very easily use daikon. In this particular situation, they're totally interchangeable. A large onion, daepa, which is the Korean, think like a scallion, but like way bigger. It's a somewhat different varietal. I happen to have one that I pulled out of our garden this morning, and so that's going to go into it. But if you don't have it, you can totally use anywhere between, what did I write down? Yeah, like a bunch of scallions, so between 6 to 8 or so. Just wash them really well, trim the tops. If there's no dirt in the roots, keep the roots on, throw them in, because they're great for making stocks. And then lastly, but a Napa cabbage. So it's going to be really aromatic. There's going to be a lot of flavor in there, and especially because of the dashima as well as the shiitake mushrooms. That's going to be kind of like the big, kind of the flavor bomb. Which brings me to my very first, what I'm going to, yes, I have props. I'm going to get up on my soapbox here for a moment, because we need to talk about dashima, and specifically the white powder that one can be found on the outside. Hey, what's going on, Clown Car? On the menu today, I'm making a veg stock that's going to be used for a sauce on Saturday, and japchae, which is a Korean noodle dish. I don't know if... okay. I was just looking to see something, but anyways. On the outside of dashima or kombu, sometimes you will find, and I bet you if I go into this bag, oh yeah, here we go. There's a great example. If you look closely, there's going to be a white powder. Hey, Renfield. There's a white powder on the outside of that. That white powder is a naturally occurring form of monosodium glutamate. And MSG has been demonized, it's been vilified, and people for the longest time have, kind of railed against its use. Yesterday, when I was out shopping, I had to go, well, let me get the white up there so you can actually read it. I went and grabbed the bag of the MSG. And the thing is if you're using it in small quantities like it's meant to be, there's zero issue. So, little history lesson here because, I figure knowledge is power, and I took a few notes. So MSG was originally discovered back in 1908. Dr. Kikune Ikeda, and I completely murdered that, and I apologize to Ikeda Sensei. But back in 1908, he realized that there was this other sense of taste called umami that we could sort of detect, and it's sort of a savoriness. And he found that it was especially prevalent in the giant kelp that they would use to make their dashi stock, which is traditionally made with the seaweed and then shaved dried bonito flakes, which is also really full of this naturally occurring glutamic acid. Anyways, so glutamic acid is actually an amino acid. It's naturally occurring. It's found in proteins. It's found a lot in the seaweed. It's found in shiitake mushrooms. It's soy sauce. It's found in Parmesan cheese. It's in tomatoes. It's in all sorts of things. It's naturally occurring and it's all over the place. So with that in mind, why did people kind of freak out and say, oh, MSG is bad? And so what had happened was back in the 60s, there was a guy by the name of, supposedly a doctor, Ho Man Kwok, Kwok, that wrote into the New England Journal of Medicine and was talking about how every time he went to this particular Chinese restaurant, he got a headache. And so he said, well, is it because of the wine that I was drinking? Was it because of some ingredients or whatever? And he put forth that it was the MSG that was giving him these headaches. And that letter caused a study to be done shortly thereafter by a guy by the name of John Olney. And the study that he did was he took this basically pure MSG and he injected it underneath the skin of mice, and he noted that they started developing neurological problems and just kind of all these issues. And so immediately they're like, oh, MSG is bad, stay away from it, no bueno kind of thing. There's a couple of problems with that study. For one, when we consume it, we don't directly inject it underneath our skins. It's consumed and our bodies, break it down because it's an amino acid and use it for parts basically. So, but that didn't stop what's known as the Chinese restaurant syndrome. Speak for myself. Chinese restaurant syndrome from taking off, and this was all throughout the 60s and still somewhat persists today. Never mind the fact that in 96, 99, and then in 2000, 3 separate studies were conducted, like completely blind, placebo effect. Anyways, studies were done to try to figure out if there was in fact a correlation between MSG and headaches, and absolutely no correlation was ever found. And it's one of those things that it is naturally occurring, and if you are going to add it to stuff that you're making, you really should only be adding a little bit. It's meant to uplift and enhance the flavor of whatever it is you're making. For years it was sold on shelves in US markets as accent. But you just get baggies of it when you go to most of the Asian markets, which is where I'm going. So at any rate, we're going to be using some of it and we're going to put it together. So I'm going to grab a pot and we're gonna throw it together. All right. Okay. So I've got my pot here, and I think my screen timed out. Let us go to, yeah, work, nice. All right, so I've got my pot here, and let's turn that on so it zeroes out. All right, let's see. It's hidden behind the text, so let's move it. It's still hidden behind the text. Looks like it's about 1 3/8. That'll work. I'll just put the whole sheet in. So the plan is, with this particular stock, we're gonna put everything into the pot, and then we're gonna add our water, put it on the stove, and turn it on. It's gonna come to a boil. We're gonna let it go for about 10 minutes. Then we're gonna pull the dashima out and then let it go for another 30 minutes. And then that will give us our vegetable stock. And then at that point, we'll strain it, cool it down, and wait to use it on Saturday. So, okay, next ingredient on the list, dried shiitake mushrooms. We've got these guys here, and they're a little kind of on the small side. What, 3, 6? I got 9 small ones, so I'll just toss all of them in. So I don't really need to open that one, which is kind of nice, actually. Okay, mu, onion, dapa, napa. Let's see. There's the mu. There's the napa. Onion. And okay. So this is actually a little bit broken up, but this is large dapa, or kind of the large green onion that gets used. Tab back over, so there we go. So I can actually see chat again. Which we're going to throw into the stock, and this one came out of my garden this morning. And you can see there's kind of like this jelly that's in there, and in a number of soups and stews that get made, that jelly actually helps thicken up whatever it is you're making. So in a vegetable stock like this, I like to chop up, hey AJ, I like to chop kind of whatever I'm putting into it, just because it's only going for about 40 minutes or so. And so if I leave things whole, it's not really going to have a chance to fully extract all the flavors and everything. So that's kind of my thinking, and that's why I'm cutting things up here. You know, it's funny, I was talking with Mrs. Wayso the other day, and I was thinking that at some point I might just do like a kind of an ASMR cooking stream where it's just, you know, not really taking care of, not really looking at chat or anything like that, but just kind of doing my thing and, you know, cooking and whatever. But then randomly during the course of it, yeah, you can see this jelly really kind of coming out. I would say, actually, Kelly, that it is not it doesn't have the same sort of thickening power as okra. It's also used a lot more. The okra jelly thickens things up way, way more than this. What a good question. So let's get that in there. Okay, so that's the data. And then we've got an onion here, and I'm just gonna take the top and the bottom off. I was just doing it over the trash can, but I'm gonna take that off, and I'm gonna take the outer skin off too, just because that's had direct contact with the ground, and I don't really want dirt or anything in there. So I have a trash can off to the side here, which you can't see. Oh, right on, AJ. Everything is sounding good and looking good, and the background music isn't too distracting. That's a new feature. I'm just waiting for somebody to pop up who hasn't already followed to follow, because I set up alerts. I'm just really curious if it actually triggers. It's like I hired a professional. No way. It's unheard of. Being a professional, for those who aren't familiar, there was a troll that showed up in Andrew Kingsley's stream one night, talking about how he was not bad, but he should really hire a professional to record stuff. Never mind the fact that he's a Juno award-winning guitarist. Yeah. So it was just kind of funny to hear the guy say that. So we joke with him in stream about being a professional or hiring one. I don't know how noticeable it is just from this particular angle, but okay, hey, yeah, go for it. I'm really curious, DVD Vampire, if it triggers. Oh, I see it. It triggered. Nice. If there's music, you can't hear anything. Are you talking, Renfield, are you talking about the background music? Oh, it's quiet. Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I could easily turn it up, but I just wanted it there really more of as kind of a background, so then that way it wasn't just totally silent or sounds from the kitchen. There we go. But anyways, what I was going to say is I don't know if it really shows from that particular angle, but when it comes to cutting and chopping, the typical let me clean this off there. The typical way that gets taught in basically every culinary school ever, most cooking courses, is that the edge of the blade you want to keep on the cutting board and kind of work the knife in this sort of motion. And I don't do that. I find it incredibly awkward and also a little bit more dangerous. And here's why. If you consider this Korean radish and its girthiness, right? In theory, by that that way of cutting, if I was going to chop it, I should have the knife up like this, which brings this back edge super, super high. Whereas I tend to go like this, so the knife isn't raised quite as much, and yes, it takes the tip off, but I'm also pinching the knife so I can maintain a good grip and better control. You see a lot of people kind of put the finger on the back, which if that's what's comfortable for you, great. I find that pinching it gives me more control. So then that way the knife isn't moving around and it's not twisting. But that's just, like I said, that's just kind of how I cut and dice and stuff. So this radish I've actually scrubbed off earlier. I'm going to leave the outside on. It's just kind of a typical Korean thing, but I will kind of trim up this. I got to tell my phone not to turn the screen off, so then that way I can continue to use it to be a cheap Stream Deck. So, and if I pay $3.50 for the app, I can unlock. I think it's like another what, 5, 6, like 8 more icons. So I'll have a total, I think, 15 or something like that. So, at any rate, just chopping this up so I can throw it in. Korean radish is delicious, by the way. I have 2 different kimchis of it actually going out in our garage fridge. The spicy version, which is in cubes, which I'm going to completely mess up the pronunciation of it, but it's like kakaduke or something like that. It's like KKAK something or other. My Korean's super bad, but they make amazing food, and I love it. So, there's that one, and then there's also dongchimi, which is kind of it's a clear broth, and the broth gets used in a couple of noodle dishes that are super popular, and it's a really mild kind of kimchi, and people will drink the broth as kind of a to kind of help with digestion. Like if you're having indigestion or something like that, they'll drink it as kind of a cure-all, as it were. So, okay, radish is in. Last thing is I got a little bit of Napa cabbage here that I bought when it was much bigger, and I've been kind of working on it for some things. So I'm just going to actually just chop the whole thing up and throw it in. Okay. All right. That is that. And I believe, yep, that was the last item that's currently on the list to go into that. There is an optional ingredient which I'm tempted to add to it. In fact, I think I will. But throwing in some black peppercorns is totally normal. If you happen to have some dried red chilies specifically, if you go to like the Hispanic section in most markets, or even any Hispanic market, and you look for like chili japones, or chili Japan, as it were, yeah, you can grab a couple of those and throw them in. Does it also go Dan Aykroyd playing Julia? Yes, the Dan Aykroyd with Julia Child, absolute classic. Love that sketch. So I'm actually just going to throw in a couple of peppercorns, just grabbing like a pinch, throwing that in. And then so I pre-measured out water for this, and the reason is because water is an ingredient that tends to get overlooked quite a bit. especially in things like soups and stocks, where your water, it really is an ingredient, it's acting as a solvent. It's something that it really needs to taste good. In the case of our municipal water here, it's on the harder side. It's okay. It's not all that great. Mrs. Hueso and I actually, we have a water delivery service, and so I just dumped out about a gallon of water from the jug, and that's what I measured out. Vera's scratching to get outside, but I'm not letting her out right now. So. And that is that. So we'll go put this on the stove and let it do its thing. And that is on high, and I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay. Let's wipe down the cutting board. Okay. So next up is, hey Scott. No, not too much, but thankfully the VOD will be available. So, and then after probably tomorrow, I'll download the video and then re-upload it onto YouTube. So it should be on there. The links will be, the link to the YouTube page and all the socials and things like that is actually on the Tactical Snacking Twitch page. There should be a link with all the socials, so you can easily find it that way. So, actually, you're just in time for part 2, Scott. We're making Japchae. And we've got our ingredient list here. And Vera, you really need to stop scratching. Here comes Vera now. Hey, little girl. Hi. Let's see. Boop. That should swap over, hopefully. Come on. It did not. Oh well. I'm wondering if it's just because the phone lost connection. Anyways, I saw a flash of a sheen. Yeah, it should have been. Yeah, you're right, at Renfield. I can record directly to the computer, but unfortunately, yeah, I changed the scene to what I call talking time, so it's just me talking, but then that way it had a wider shot because Vera was walking into frame, and so I figured, hey, let's enlarge it so people can actually see her. But, so we're making Japchae, and it is a Korean noodle dish, and there's a number of components that go into it. The way that it's usually made is that you have these noodles, which are made from sweet potato starch, and they're kind of translucent and gray. There is a purple variety, which is pretty cool. But you take these noodles, and what's really kind of funny is in, I would say, 90% of online recipes and videos that are making Japchae, they all talk about how you have to soak the noodles first. You have to soak the noodles first. You have to soak the noodles first. Or else it just takes forever to cook. But I've not actually found that to be the case. That the boiling time really isn't all that long. Hail hydrate. So I usually skip that step. But then what you do is after you boil the noodles, you actually immediately dunk them in the cold water to stop that cooking before tossing in the sauce which we'll be making. The sauce here consists of soy sauce, brown sugar, sesame oil, garlic, sesame seeds, and some black pepper. That's going to be the basic sauce that we're making for this, and it's going to get split up amongst a couple of things because it's going to be tossed with the noodles. We're going to marinate some of the beef that's in there, as well as the fresh shiitake mushrooms. So that's going to get marinated, and then we'll stir fry it, and then everything ends up being cooked sort of separately before being added to the final dish. That's the most traditional way of making it. The other thing that I have on here is a couple of eggs. What is another really common thing is this finely sliced up egg garnish, which, if I remember correctly, it's called Decay. I could be completely wrong, but it is a really thin egg omelet. It's literally just scrambled eggs that you've poured in a single layer in the pan, and then flipped, and once it's cooked you just take it out and let it cool down and then slice it up, and then you have it as a topping. So we'll go ahead and make that too. The spinach we are going to blanch, cool down, chop up, and then toss it in with everything else. The scallions are going to be cut into like 2-inch pieces, and then they just get stir fried really quickly, just to kind of cause them to wilt just a little bit. The onion's going to be cut into thin slices. The carrot is going to be cut into matchsticks. And then everything is just going to be sauteed separately. And I have a portable burner, which I'm going to bring over. This is the first time that I'm trying to cook underneath the camera that's down here, which, in theory, yay! That time it actually worked. I don't know why it didn't work for the other scene, but anyways. And so I'm going to do the bulk of the cooking here, although I will have to run to the sink in order to cool down the noodles and to blanch, or to cool down the spinach. But I got smart and I put a big pot of water on to boil, so I have my boiling water ready. But I will be kind of running back and forth in the kitchen with a kind of a big wok of that stuff. But first, let's get all the vegetation prep. Let's make the sauce, and so then that way we can get the shiitake mushrooms and the beef marinating. So a quick note, and this is going to be on the shiitake mushrooms. That. That. And okay. So shiitake mushrooms. These guys are fresh. I wanted to bust. Let's see if it switches back. Hey, it actually did. I wanted to bust kind of a commonly held kitchen myth. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of places to put cameras, AJ. To be honest, like, I'd like to put one over the sink. I'd like to put one kind of over the stove, maybe another view or two. But anyways, fresh mushrooms. The commonly held sort of belief is that mushrooms in general are crazy sponges, that if they even get a hint of being anywhere near any kind of moisture whatsoever, that they'll just immediately soak it up, and that's no bueno. Well, I hate to break it to you, but that is totally false. Mushrooms are in fact funguses. They do in fact contain moisture. However, by washing your mushrooms, which is actually something that I've been doing for years and years, it doesn't add any, it doesn't suck up the moisture like people seem to think. Yeah, exactly, AJ. I'm starting small. This is what I have to work with, so this is what I'm doing. Whatever added weight there is literally just whatever moisture tends to be stuck to the outside of it. So there's no reason why you can't wash your mushrooms. In fact, when I wash the mushrooms, what I do is, I've got a dedicated sponge that I use specifically for washing vegetation. So like, if if I'm scrubbing the outside of carrots or radish or something like that, or if I'm cleaning off the outside of mushrooms, using the sponge, I just have it underneath the running water, and I'm just kind of yes, I do want to wash off the dirt, Raptor Man, which is exactly why I'm doing this. So, like, what I'll do is I'm going to take these over there, and I'm going to get them underneath the running water with the sponge and brush them off, and then we'll chop off these stems and then slice it, and we're going to put it into a bowl, and we'll kind of take it from there. So I'm going to go wash these off real quick because I want to get the beef, and I want to get these mushrooms marinating before we finally actually go to stir fry. So I'm going to take care of these. That's going to take a little while. I just need to keep an ear out for it so then I can set the timer. Nice. Okay. So the beef that I'm actually using for this, usually for Japchae, beef tends to be the most common protein added. However, pork is also used, but it tends to be sliced up. So then that way it's kind of long, thin strips. Because if you think about it, Japchae is eaten with chopsticks. And so you usually don't want gargantuan chunks. Strips tends to be the best. But when it comes to like the actual quality of the meat, to be honest, it doesn't need to be anything super crazy. Like you could very easily make it with filet mignon if you wanted. But I just picked up, this was a pack of fajita meat that they had on the market. It was the cheapest one that they had. So I figured, you know what, that'll be perfect for this. So late notifications, yeah, funny how that works. Alright. Oh, hi, little girl. How you doing? Huh? To be honest, this kind of looks like it was probably chuck, and I'm guessing that they ran it through a meat tenderizer. So think like a spike strip, but from the top, and just coming down and spiking into the meat to break up some of the fibers. That's probably what they did, but for what we're doing, that is perfect. So I will leave that there. Best kitchen hack ever for taking care of these. Scissors for the win. Koreans are like crazy smart when it comes to that. They use scissors for like everything. It's amazing. Like you go to a Korean barbecue place and they've got scissors that they use to cut up the meat. I mean, scissors are used in the kitchen all the time for them. Looks like there's some residual dirt down here, but that's all right. Okay, so I'm just slicing these up about like that. It looks like it's probably about 2 mil or 1/8 of an inch or so. Okay. Alright. So that is in there. That's what we're looking at right now. Okay, so let's make the sauce. For the sauce, we need some garlic. I think I have written down like 1 teaspoon or something like that. 2 teaspoons. This is a little bit more than 2 teaspoons, but that's okay. I like a little additional garlic in mine. Yeah, blunt scissors suck, and that's why I highly recommend finding a professional knife sharpener in your area and having them do it. So I have a whole bunch of peeled garlic here, and I usually buy it by the 5-pound bag because I use it enough to where it makes sense for me to buy it in bulk like that, and I usually go through it fast enough. And so because I have it in that particular form, I will like, oh, let's throw in a fistful of garlic to whatever, and I'm a fan. I like it. I'm gonna go grab a bowl so we can mix up this sauce. Alright. Hopefully that wasn't terribly loud. There should be a limiter on the mic, so in theory it should not have blown out anybody's ears with hitting the floor. That was a pro tip that I learned. So I'm just gonna smash these up and then chop them up. That looks like it is going to be good enough for our purposes. Don't really need a fine mince on that. And that's okay because I actually like some slightly larger bits of garlic in there anyways. So interesting thing about garlic. Not loud. Oh, good. So garlic is really kind of interesting. There's the chemical that's in it that gives you that sort of burn. It is most active and most perceptible. Thank you, AJ. I appreciate you being my troll. The bigger the chunk, the milder the burn is. So for like San SoCal. Hey, how's it going, San SoCal Christian? Welcome to the feed. The bigger the chunk of garlic, the less perceptible that garlic burn is. The smaller the chunk of raw garlic, the more perceptible and kind of more of that, hey Christian, welcome. But yeah, the smaller bit of garlic, I mean, it's going to give you that sort of garlic burn. So if you have like a variety of sizes, sometimes you get a variety of burn. And so I tend to like that. So that's what I've got going on in here. And yeah, okay. Let me wash my hands real quick. Okay, so let's go to item number 1 on the sauce, soy sauce. I'm doing great, Christian. I'm actually having a really good day. How's yours going? I've been really looking forward to doing this again. So this is exciting. But we're talking soy sauce. So the question was posed to me, I think this was last weekend, about whether or not there's a difference between Chinese soy sauce and Korean soy sauce and Japanese soy sauce. And the short answer, because I mean, we could talk about this for a while, but the short answer is yes, there is in fact a difference in the way that the soy sauce tastes. Some of it comes from where it's produced, just the idea of terroir, which is that taste of place. So it's like soybeans that are grown in the south of Korea are going to taste different than the soybeans that are grown in the north, just because they've got different soil. And so because of that, things just taste different. Soy sauce itself originated in China, like so many things, and then through the how do I put this, non-friendly cultural exchanges, I guess is the way that I can put it, between China and Korea and Japan. All these, starting to smell it, let's stop. Yep, cool. Start that timer. And we'll turn it down just a bit. Nice. Through these unfriendly cultural exchanges, things got kind of moved in between the different countries. What is... Stock was jumping a little bit, so all I did was push it back, so then that way the flame was more centered underneath the pot. But yeah, these cultural exchanges, like, things moved and transferred, and then Japan kind of made soy sauce their own in their particular fashion. Korea did the same thing. Their soy sauce production is yeah, exactly, it is that's about the most diplomatic way of putting it. But Korea, theirs is probably going to be the most different between the three of them, and that's because I'm hearing popping and boiling and just... you know what, let's just put the lid back on. Whereas, so in China and Japan, the basic method is they take their soybeans, they steam them, boil them, mash them up, mix them in with a form of mold called koji, which is the same stuff that they use for making sake, miso, just kind of a ton of stuff. It's an amazing thing. And then through the aging process and fermentation, it breaks down the proteins in the soybeans, and the resultant liquid is what becomes soy sauce. Korea, on the other hand, what they do is they take those soybeans, mash them, and then form them into these blocks, and then air dry them. Hey, to person. In this particular circumstance, Mom, not so much. But they take these blocks, dry them for like a year. Jeez. Starting to make me wish I used my large stock pot for that. That's okay. And air dry them, hang them up, let the blocks kind of grow that koji naturally. The wild yeast and everything that exists in the air ends up latching onto it. And then after they've dried them out for almost a year, then they put them back into a pot with brine and let that go. And then it works on those to break it down. And then that resulting sauce is called gamjang, or their soy sauce, effectively. So, you generally speaking, you can't interchange the soy sauces. If you've only got, like, say, Kikkoman, and you're making, you know, some Chinese or Korean recipe, it's not really the most compatible. You can use it in a pinch, but I mean, I'm crazy like that, so I've got like 5 different soy sauces in my fridge right now. And in this particular circumstance, I'm actually going to be using 2. The first is a very common, super popular Korean soy sauce made by Sempio. It's their 701, and that refers to kind of the protein content, and it's really kind of a high quality one. And then I'm going to be using a little bit of this Kunchun double black soy sauce. The reason is in making Japchae, the visual aspect of it tends to be really important. And so what you find, Kikkoman is from Japan. What you find is that because of just sort of the visual appeal, Koreans tend to prefer the Japchae to be on the darker side. And so what will happen is a lot of places that make it will actually throw in a little bit of caramel coloring and stir it in order to just make it darker. In my particular circumstance, we're just going to use a bit of this double black because it's literally a dark soy sauce, and it's more going to be there for the darkening aspect of it as opposed to flavor. So I'm going to use like 2-ish tablespoons of the Korean stuff, which is this, and then like 1.5 tablespoons of the normal soy sauce. So let me grab some measurements. And since I'm going to measure out a couple of other things, I'm going to do the dry stuff first. So this is just brown sugar. So 3, 2, and 3. Okay. That just goes right back up there. Boop. There we go. Now you can actually see what I'm doing. Beauty. Yeah, Japchae. Hey, Billy Bob Frog, how the heck are you, man? So we've got that. Now let's go ahead and do the soy sauce. And to be honest, it doesn't have to be terribly exact. In fact, I'll probably about a half of it, just because I don't feel like dirtying up the teaspoon one. Consequently, there's 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon. A tablespoon's roughly 15 mil, and a teaspoon's about 5 for, all the metric using folk. Oh, did it not flip over? Okay, there we go. Oh, it flipped back. That's weird. Here. Okay. Oh, that's bizarre. I wonder why it went back. Anyways, so here's that double black soy sauce. You can kind of see just like how much darker and kind of inky it is. Yeah, a little bit more. Okay. And because we've been going for a little while, I think I should have brought this over to the mic. L'chaim. Let's see. ASMR. I did just totally pull a Silence of the Lambs ASMR joke, but that's just me. I was joking with Mrs. Oisa that I'd be able to, put the lotion in the basket. Anyways, it's a running joke. Okay. Sesame oil. I tend to use the Otogi brand, which is a big Korean brand, just because lotion on the skin. Yeah. Or it gets the hose again. I like the Otogi brand. I usually get it in kind of these large tins, so then that way there's no exposure to the air, and the light, which will break down oil real quick. I'm not a fan of oil oxidizing, because then it goes rancid and it's no bueno. Okay. Put the plug back in. Yeah, you know, it's one of those things, Billy Bob, that I use enough of it for any number of reasons that I could easily justify the purchase of it. I used to have small bottles, but I found that I was just running out, like using it and then running out, and then it was just cheaper to buy it like that. So that's what I did. Okay, the garlic is in there, sesame oil is in there, the brown sugar's in there, the soy sauce is in there. Oh, 10 minutes. Okay. I'm pulling, or at least trying to pull. It's in there somewhere. There we go. Nice. And okay, so I'm actually just going to leave that in there for right now. And 30 more minutes on the clock. Okay. Black pepper and sesame seeds. Should have grabbed the grinder while I was up there. Oh well. I'm a real professional. To be honest, when it comes to the black pepper part of this, I kind of feel like, you know, just do it to taste, really. It's like, if you like black pepper, great. If not, whatever. If you like a lot, put a lot. If you like a little, put a little. Yeah, that's right. I remember you mentioning that previously, Billy Bob, about your wife being a chef. So the last thing that we're adding is going to be sesame seeds. And most of the time when sesame seeds get added to recipes, they're just left whole, they're dumped in. I was watching a video by, I forget who it was, but he talked about how really you don't get the full effect of the sesame seeds in terms of their flavor by leaving them whole like that. And so he recommended crushing them up. And so ever since then, that's what I've done. If I'm ever adding sesame seeds to something, even as a garnish, I will just give them a quick bash up in my pestle and mortar here. So it calls for about a tablespoon. It's one of those things that I always ish it. I don't really worry too much about the exact amount. I just have exact amounts written down so people can have it as a reference. ASMR. All right, that's looking good. Sweet. Alright, I'm just mixing this up, and then we're going to add, like 3 tablespoons, I think. Check my notes real quick. Yep, about 3 tablespoons or so to the meat and the mushrooms here, and get those mixed up. Alright. That's looking pretty good. Alright. There's the 3 tablespoons of that. We'll leave that off to the side for the time being. Thankfully, I had the foresight of leaving these on top of the seaweed, and instead of being in, kind of touching the actual sink. So then that way, it's like, just give them a quick rinse. All right. Yeah, that's a good size piece of meat. That will work. This should work really nicely. I'm just pulling the slices apart so then that way we can get a little bit of marinade all over them. Because we want all the pieces of meat to taste good, not just a couple. I had a sandwich for lunch too, Billy Bob and AJ. Granted, mine was a banh mi that I made from the leftover lemongrass pork that I made last night. And since I already had the pickled carrot and daikon and cilantro and everything else, it came together really easy. I did not use the traditional Vietnamese baguette, which is a whole other discussion. I grabbed a bolillo from the market just because they make them, and it's pretty dang close in terms of the texture, that kind of pillowy inside that the Vietnamese baguettes are known for, and that really nice kind of thin and really crunchy crust. Okay, that is looking really good. So we will leave that right. Actually, you know what? Let's put it here, because we're going to need this stuff in a moment. Okay. On with the prep. Alright, so we've got onion, carrot, scallions. We've already done the shiitake mushrooms. And in here I actually have the spinach. I got a bunch and then destemmed it. I already washed it, so there's no sand or anything. Thanks, Kelly. Take care. And yeah, so this is all prepped and ready to go, just because washing spinach just seems super boring to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and julienne up the carrot and get that ready. Just giving it a quick peel, chopping off the ends, and then we'll take it from there. ASMR. I don't know, some of those ASMR videos sometimes and just make me, tilt my head to the side and say, huh? I mean, I understand the whole idea is that they're supposed to be like relaxing sounds and noises, but sometimes it just seems, I don't know. Hey, Abby Stupid, what's up? Hail hydrate. Okay, so I want roughly, about half is fine, I figure. And then cut that, do it like that. So in that way things are sitting nice and flat, because cutting and rolling things is never fun. A lot of times what I've seen it's a full liter stein, for proper hydration. Man. But what they'll do is they'll take kind of whatever, slice it on the bias, lay it down flat, and then just kind of go through and chop it up like that. I've never had really great success doing it that way. It's just There must be like somebody walking their dog outside. Vera's going nuts. So I tend to just take it like this, slice it on the thinner side, and then for the larger slices, I'll cut it in half to get matchsticks. So then that way they saute up nice, or stir fry up nice and easy. Nice. There we go. Because we also eat with our eyes, so making sure that things actually look pretty is kind of important. Camera might need to be angled a bit rather than straight down. Yeah, it's just that's the easiest way for me to mount the camera. Just because like I've got shelving that's directly above this, and so it's just easier to clamp the camera and then have it here. Maybe not, I don't know, at some point maybe I'll kind of mount it down in the corner over here so you can kind of get a side shot to where I'm cooking. So really, my head's getting into frame? That's weird. Shouldn't be. But also wanted to give a big shout out to any and all lurkers that are out there. If you're just hanging out and you're like, hey, let's just watch, and you're not in the mood to interact, that's okay. Go ahead, have a good time lurking. I'm happy that you're here. And in the event that you ever have any questions about anything, please feel free to shout them out or whatever in the chat. If I miss your comment or your question, I do apologize. It's not because I'm ignoring you, it's only because I didn't see it. So, okay. So that is done. Next up, let's get that onion. So I'm just going to kind of do the same thing by taking off that stem. Then also I just trim the root so then that way it's not kind of floating around. Okay. You see the food, you see the hat, and it's done. ASMR. It's a cooking magic show suddenly. Okay. That's looking peeled. Just take off that little bit of the root end, so now we can just kind of go in there. And I like to, when I'm cutting up kind of thin bits of onion, if you look at it from this angle, I kind of like to come in like this and do wedges, but then I'm coming in from the side of it, cook the rest of the owl instead of draw it. Oh, jeez. So, I'll do that. So I got wedges. All right, onion done. Next up, scallions. All right. There we go. I figured I might as well grab my eggs while I got them. Well, I'm in the fridge at least. There we go. So I grabbed four scallions just because they're a little bit on the smaller side, and I tend to really like them in there. So I usually I trim off the ends initially, and then I'll like take off the bits at the top, and then kind of go through, and if there's like one of these that's loose and kind of older, I'll just take that off. Hopefully that is much more. Grab my eggs. It could be. Yeah. Alright, so I'll go give these a quick rinse. Okay, aiming for about 2 inches or roughly 5 centimeters in length. It doesn't have to be exact. For these white ends, because they're a bit thicker, slice them right down the middle so it opens them up. The hat's still in the way. Japchae lumpy pickle is a Korean noodle dish which we are getting closer and closer to making a reality. Alright, so that is done. Okay, noodle, carrot, onion, scallions, beef and shiitake. Just got to blanch the spinach and do the eggs. So let's mix those eggs up. Okay. So sometimes what a lot of Koreans will do is they'll actually separate the yolks from the whites, and then they'll fry up the white separately from the yolk. So then that way they have white and yellow strips. I'm a little lazy for that. I'm just fine with it as is. I'm just giving it a quick mix so it's and then when we go to fry it, we'll hit it with a little bit of salt. Okay, so we'll just put that off to the side there. We can move this. Okay. All right. I think we are just about ready to go. Alright, knife is all cleaned up since all my principal cutting is done. And that is back up on the wall. Give that a quick wipe down. Okay, I think we are just about ready to go. Got my sweet portable burner here. These you can usually grab for really cheap at most Korean markets. There's a lot of places that carry them, but they take a butane cartridge, and we use them on the tabletop for when we make Korean barbecue at home. you find a lot of Koreans own them. They're used a lot in Japan. They're used all over the place. What's funny is Korea is also like the #1 producer and user of butane canisters in the world. They use them all the time. Yeah, these stoves are fantastic. And if you notice, it's not like a gargantuan flame, which has always been kind of my pet peeve of commercial stoves, is that someone somewhere for some reason decided that instead of giving me 5 or 6 burners of all the same thing, that I needed a very little burner, a very big burner, and a couple of other whatevers. No, I just give me 5 or 6 big burners and I'm happy. That's what I want. So, okay. So, my order of operation now is I'm gonna boil the noodles first, drain them, rinse them off, put them into the big mixing bowl, get them stirred up with the marinade. Then they're going to go back into the kind of the wok that I have, just for a little bit, then back into the big mixing bowl. Then we're going to rinse it out, blanch the spinach, drain the spinach, bring it back, and I'll run a knife through it to kind of chop it up a little bit, and then that's going to go into the bowl. Then we're going to saute up the onions. Those are going to go in. The carrots are then going to go in. Scallions will go briefly. And then finally the beef and the mushrooms. Although I need to do the egg at some point in there. I don't know if I've ever actually made it with the egg, so we're learning and growing together. Kind of thinking maybe I should do the egg first. No, you know what? I'll do the egg after I do the spinach. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do the egg after the spinach. That's going to be the best way to go. So, all right. Got my wok. Got my big old mixing bowl here. So, when it comes to mixing bowls, as well as kind of like whatever wok you're going to end up using, take whatever size you think you need and do at least the next size bigger. The reason for that is because it's like, this has happened so many times to me, and it happens to everybody, is you go to like put stuff in a bowl and you're like, oh, okay, this is big enough, this will accommodate whatever it is that I'm wanting to make, but then inevitably it ends up being too small and you can't really mix anything. So it's just like, just grab the bigger bowl, grab the bigger wok, use use the bigger one. When it comes to stir frying especially, and we'll talk about this more on Saturday, the more area that you have in the wok, the better, because you don't want to crowd whatever it is that you're making. Because when you crowd it, it steams as opposed to stir fries, and we don't want to steam, we want to stir fry. The ideal texture for like the carrots and the onions and everything else is what is affectionately called tender crisp. And as it's kind of a weird sounding name because it sounds like an oxymoron. How can it be tender and crisp? But what happens is you're aiming for a really quick cook, and so the very outside kind of gets nice and tender, but then when you go to bite into it, there's still a bit of a snap, and so it tends to be almost, I guess really the most relatable way is think of it as like al dente, I guess, really. It's still not raw, it is fully cooked, but there's a little bit of crispiness, but it's still nice and tender, and they do exist in the same space at the same time. So, okay, I'm going to go grab some boiling water and put it in here, and then we will get the noodles going. ounce. Okay. That is sitting on there nice. Sweet. 11-hour. Yeah. It's probably about 11 to 12 hours, I think, Lumpy Pickle is roughly what it ends up being. Talked about this briefly, I think, in my in the dog food stream. I'm using grapeseed oil for all of the stir frying and everything else that I'm doing. It's a neutral oil. It is a high heat oil. It is my go-to for everything. Olive oil is right out because it has a flavor. You don't want the flavor of olive oil in any of this. Yeah, absolutely. You can totally just come on up and take a nap. I got a spare bed, so I got a space for you. And actually, should you come up with Lumpy Joe, we could accommodate the both of you too. So, the recipe calls for 7 ounces. Open this bag already. Haha! That's how you know you're really cooking. Is when you start having things like, oh, the bag won't open. So this is a 17-ounce package. These are what those noodles look like. And if you notice, there's this big bend right here. So these guys are actually really long. What we're going to do after we drain them and cool them down, I'm actually going to bust out those scissors again. You know, funny you should say that, Raptor Man. That was actually a topic of conversation at one point. We're going to cut the noodles so then that way they're a little bit shorter and you're not dealing with, 2-foot long noodles when you're trying to eat this, because that's not really the way that you want to do it. So since our water's at a nice boil, let's drop them in. I'm trying to do this all in one pan, so then that way there's way less to clean up, because one can go crazy with making stuff and then doing a huge mess. But I'm like, hey, if I can do this in one pan, that would be awesome. So I mean, yeah, there's like a couple of bowls and stuff, but my dishwasher is empty and things are rinsed. So this is going to take a few minutes. So how's everybody's day going? I know Lumpy Pickle's been having a grand old time setting up conference rooms. How you doing, Raptor Man? Billy Bob, I'm guessing it is probably about noon-ish. I know AJ, it's about 1:30 in the afternoon. Okay, almost lunchtime for you, Billy. Okay, these are still a little stiff, but that's okay. Consequently, oh good, you're almost done. Thank goodness. I've got a colander set up in the sink, and I've got a big bowl full of cold water ready to go. So then that way, after I drain these, I can put them still in there. Yeah, I kind of figured you were still at work, Raptor Man, because if I remember correctly, you're down in the lower half of California. I don't want to dox you. So, Or at least in the same time zone. Okay, these are starting to soften up, which is good. So something that you'll notice when I go to drain these is that I'll actually lift the colander out of the sink to drain this. And the reason for that is, even though the colander that I have over there has feet on it, I don't want the water from this to get down to the sink and not thoroughly drain out. So then that way the water is actually kind of coming back up, and then if the sink isn't, sterile, then yeah, it's just a mess. But all of my colanders are wire mesh, specifically so that whatever I put them there. Oh, that's our 30-minute time. Check that out. And these are feeling like they're just about ready. Alright, turn the heat off on that so the stock is fine, because we're doing this right now. We'll drain the stock afterwards. Okay. Let's go drain this. Beautiful. I love these noodles so much. They're kind of a thicker, glassier noodle. And they got a really great chew to them. Just really excellent. Okay, so we're going to put a couple of tablespoons of marinade in there. And then when I made dog food, I talked about these gloves, because you've already seen me wash my hands a couple of times. My hands tend to get really dry, and so I hate washing them constantly. And the price of disposable gloves right now is just crazy. These gloves I picked up at the hardware store. They were meant for paint stripping. Hi, Jane. Jane decided to come in and join the stream. I'm not sure. Let's see. Let's see. Oh no, you can't see him. He's right down here. There's Jane. Jane. Hey. There's Vera. Jane, come here. Such a good boy. That's Jane, and that's Vera, and yes, they are named after Firefly characters. But yeah, these gloves are meant for initially stripping paint. There we go. AJ, you're telling me that this magnet here, or this logo here, or the fact that this says, "I am a leaf on the wind," or this, although there might be a little bit difficult to see. Yes, Vera is a gun. Jane's very favorite. Do I have the appropriate hat? Yes, I do. I do, in fact, have a Jane hat. Yes, I am a nerd, Billy Bob Frog, very proudly so. So, I use these for mixing up food. So I don't have to... Okay, that's awesome, DVD Vampire. I forget, there's a couple of different versions of the gun that got released. There was like the actual Hero version, was like not Hero Arts, I forget the name of the company. Hero Arts is a craft world company. Okay, so we're just mixing these up. See that color? See that dark color? That's the kind of color we're aiming for. Is that coming through, I hope? That's true, you have sent me pictures, Lumpy Pickle. And in fact, I would say that you could probably get away with making these a bit darker with the... oh, that's cool. I can see how that caramel color would be good, but we got a little bit of liquid down at the bottom, but that's okay, because we're going to stir fry these up real quick. Okay. Okay. And just like that, I'm back to having regular working hands. Ain't that awesome? All right, just heating it up a little bit. Let me take that out of there. We're going to add just a touch of oil to the pan. Okay. Into the pan briefly. Okay. So the other thing I like to do when it comes to making these noodles is before, and especially like any stir fry or anything where the noodles are going to go into a pan after boiling, is you want to pull them when they're a little bit not done. So then that way, when you put them in the pan and cook them, you don't overcook them. Thankfully, these noodles are actually really forgiving. And so it's not like traditional wheat-based pasta where the moment it goes over, it just goes bleh. These hold together really, really nicely. That's my offhand. Alright. That's looking good. Okay. ASMR. Alright. Okay, we have cut our noodles. I think the, what's the name? Harmony. It's a Korean word for grandmother. I think the harmonies would be okay with me with doing what I just did there. Alright, so now I'm going to go rinse out the pan real quick, put some more water into it, and then we're going to blanch the spinach. And since that's the last of the boiling water I'll need, okay. Alright, those are looking good. Yeah, a little bit of an oil sheen on top from what's been in there, but that's okay because it's all going to go to the same place. We'll probably end up drizzling some additional sesame oil on it at the very end just because that's super typical. Somebody's agitating Vera. Nice. This is working out about as well as I had hoped. So this is a pretty excellent solution to, until the time comes when I can set up a camera over. Yeah, don't agitate Vera. Vera is our little protection or early warning system. She is the one that's always on high alert. Jane, on the other hand, the running joke is that if anybody were to break into the house, he would show them where all the good stuff was. He loves people, and he'll just come up and lick you. Yeah. So Vera barks and is agitated by most things that cross by out front. She has caught a rabbit. That's a fun story. But let's blanch the spinach first, and then I'll tell you the rabbit story. All right. So with the spinach, it's going to go real quick. I'm going to take it over, drain it, and shock it pretty quickly because this spinach tends to go super quick. And then, yeah, that's kind of a funky looking leaf. Okay, so let's do this. I'm using big leaf spinach straight up off the stem. You could very easily use baby spinach, and that is already done. So let me that has cooled down nicely. Okay. So all I've done is, after shocking them in the cold water to stop the cooking, squoze out pretty aggressively as much moisture as I can get out, and we're left with kind of this mass of spinach. Now, normally I'd say, hey, Rav, welcome! Rav Voltaire, for those that don't know, lead singer of, I believe, Edmonton, or out of Ottawa at least, power metal band Ravenous EH. If you are unfamiliar with his music, definitely go check him out. Awesome band and an awesome dude. So, I'm just going to use my scissors to cut this up because that's what Harmony would do. So I'm just cutting this into little random strips, and to be honest, the randomness is just fine. This is all going to get mixed up anyways. Okay, that's in there. We're going to come back and mix this all together we're going to get the gloves back and do it, so that's going to work out just fine. Okay. Now, wipe that out. Let's do some eggs. We are making Japchae right now, Rav. Korean noodle dish. It's made with sweet potato noodles. There's spinach in it. We have the recipe written right over here on this nifty whiteboard slash cabinet door. And let's see. No, that's not what I want. Screen decided to go to sleep again. That's to be expected. Let's see if that changes it. Beauty! Hopefully with this screen you can actually read the recipe that we got going on here. Right now we are at the part of the recipe where we are going to fry up a couple of eggs as a bit of an omelet, and then I'm just going to turn them out onto the cutting board that is just out of camera view. And let's turn the heat down on this because we don't want to. We don't really want to brown the eggs. And with a touch of salt. Pull that out on the board. So now it's chilling. A little bit more oil. And then more eggs. There we go. Oh, thanks, Lumpy Pickle. You know, I've actually taken some time and practiced my handwriting. Although experienced writers would say that I still need to work on my hand style. I would agree with them on that particular notion. Got residual heat there, so I'm just going to turn it off. Since that is more or less done, I'll just roll it onto itself. And out on the board. And it just occurred to me that I am in that particular view. There we go. Now you should have done that earlier, so then that way you could actually see what's going on. Yes, thank you, Billy Bob. I know. That's it's only my second official stream. Granted, it's like my third or fourth, but anyways. Okay. Next up, onions. So we're going to basically just repeat what we've been doing. A little bit of oil. And I know that you're probably sitting there going, oh my gosh, you're adding so much oil, you're adding so much oil. In the scheme of it, I mean, this is maybe 1 or 2 teaspoons. For the entire dish, there's only, there's only a couple of tablespoons. So it's not like you're consuming massive quantities. Now, with this amount of oil, yeah, we're good. All right. A little bit of salt. Yeah, and these are going nice and quick. To be honest, and I'll talk about this more on Saturday. Stir frying does not have to be done over the fires of hell. I prefer to do it over the fires of hell, but it doesn't have to be. The biggest thing is just making sure that the pan isn't overcrowded. So, I mean, there's tons of room. Things aren't steaming. Everything's got, some contact. And see how we're getting a little bit of color? I kind of want to take this, and it's interesting because you'll see a lot of cooking shows and chefs and whatever. I'm not a chef, by the way, just so we're clear. They talk about, cooking until it's translucent. All you're really looking for is, if you look kind of closely there, I don't know if it's really visible, but it's still pretty opaque. Whereas in like some little, it's probably mostly skinned. Some bits, it's a little bit easier to see through. We're just looking to take the raw edge off. All right, that's good. Next, let's do some carrots. There we go. I know, stop making so much sense. See, the most, especially like Chinese cuisine, but a lot of it is just getting all your prep work done. Once you get your prep work done, the actual like cooking procedure and everything else is really quick. And that's why having all your prep work done ahead of time is so important. And we're going to hit this with just a touch of salt. I'm using, it's a kosher salt. It's a nice big flaky salt. It's what I like to use mostly. I do have multiple salts just because that's how I am. Stop eating your people. Like I have fine Korean sea salt kind of over there. So this particular recipe, Rav, is really just for me and Mrs. Weso. This is dinner. But it's enough. This particular portion is enough for really 2 people. But I've seen people make it for parties that make gargantuan bowls. It's really impressive and fun to watch. So the carrots are still a little hard because you can hear that ting ting ting. Hopefully the sound is coming through. This is a super cardioid style microphone, and it's meant to pick up not only kind of in front but also off to the sides a little bit. And with the sound settings, in theory, you should be hearing that tink tink tink. I don't know if it's coming through though. I'll have to go back and watch it. Oh, good, it's coming through. ASMR. Okay, I think. Yeah, these are looking nice and bendable, but still kind of crisp. So we'll call those good. Into the pan. This one's going to be super quick. Mrs. Weso should be home soon. And into the pan. See? That was quick. All right. Now to the mushrooms and the beef. Just a little bit more. There we go. Nice. Yeah, I wish you folks could smell it. It smells awesome. I will say in the recipe it calls for, what is it, 4 ounces of beef. I think I ended up using 12 because, you know, what I wanted. Mushrooms, shiitake mushrooms, fresh shiitake. Thoughts on bean sprouts? Never eat bean sprouts if you're worried about food poisoning. That is an interesting question, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, they're fresh shiitake mushrooms. We talked about them a little bit earlier. Okay. So now we've got some of the meat juice that's coming out. You can see it pooling down here. And that's part of the reason why I'm pushing things up to the side. Is so then that way it drains down into the center. So then that way it has a chance to kind of cook down and concentrate. As for serving this alongside anything, normally in a Korean household, this would be served with any number of banchan or little side dishes, so things like kimchi, maybe a bowl of rice, any number of little sides that are made. Thankfully, I actually have some that are already made up, and so we'll probably end up eating that. Because banchan is a whole other thing, let me tell you. Okay. Mushrooms are looking nice and soft. The beef is no longer pink. I don't really want to take the beef to well done area because then it's just super chewy and that's no fun. Okay. There we go. Let me go. Take these over to the sink. Hi, Jane. I just wanted to give those a quick rinse because this really should be the kind of the new catchphrase for tactical snacking is rinse now or scrub later. So I didn't have to change the butane tank, which is pretty awesome. Okay. Got my clean gloves again. And we're going to mix with our hands because the hands are the best mixers that you got. That's the only problem with these types of gloves, is if your hands are even mildly moist, tend to be kind of a pain to put on. That's okay. Alright, so we'll take the rest of our marinade that we made earlier and pour that on now. And then we mix. Hopefully my hat's not in the way that time. Yeah, look at how nice and dark those noodles are. That is, yeah. Harmony would be proud. Yeah, that's looking good. Nice. Okay. So, grab some additional items, throw that on top. Boop. Nice. Take these off for the time being. And then let's do that. Bring these eggs back into view so you can see them real quick. I'm just gonna kind of do a chiffonade, as it were, so really thinly sliced. Hopefully. Just realized my head was probably in the way again. There we go. Okay. There we go. And a little bit of that on top. And there is that. And lastly, because I want to, this is a finely ground Korean red pepper powder. It's probably better there. Yeah. So anyways, it's finely ground. It's going to add a little bit of heat to it. I like it that way. So I'm just hitting it with a little sprinkle. And that's Japchae. I would have eaten a heap of... Oh, I know. Seriously. Well, for the sake of doing this, Billy Bob, it's... restraint is sometimes a good thing. Other times, you know, it's like, hey, we can go crazy with it. And I'm all for going crazy when it comes to food, believe me. Mrs. Hueso can certainly attest to that. For the longest time, it's like if I was cooking, I'm cooking for an army, even though it's like two of us. But that's kind of how I roll. But yeah, that is Japchae. That should be nice and in view like that. And there's, I wake the phone up again. And let's go to that view. Bada bing. And we should see the view like that. So now it's kind of obligatory with any cooking show. It's like, oh, you got to taste it, and then, you know, whatever. So let's try a piece of that beef first. got a good flavor. It is definitely on the chewier side. My guess is it's probably from whatever cheap cut that they use. My guess is like a top or a bottom round or something like that. Hey, Erzeg. Oh, thank you for the apron comment. But it's certainly eatable. Noodles are perfect. Shiitakes are good. Carrots are spot on. Yeah. So other than kind of that clearly cheaper beef, came out perfect. Came out exactly like it's supposed to. There are variations, and I'm also kind of a big fan of it when like red and yellow bell pepper are put in, because it's just additional color. Because they're all about kind of just all the color that goes into it. You know, as long as it's something that's really fun to kind of look at, and because yeah, you totally eat with your eyes. It's kind of like out of view there. That's tasty. Nice. So, the last thing that I have to do is drain our vegetable stock that we made. So I am going to scoot this out of the way. Hi, puppies. And whoop. I've got, let's go back to this view real quick. So this is what's known as a chinois, or China cap, is just what they're called. It's a really fine mesh sieve that you use for draining, you know, stocks and soups and things like that you're trying to take out the kind of all the big chunks of everything. What I'm going to do before I pour all the liquid into this is I'm going to get a different strainer and kind of skim out most of the stuff, so then that way it doesn't splash everywhere and make a giant mess, because that would be no bueno. Okay, so here is our veg stock. That's looking real nice. And it's reduced, which is exactly what we expected it to do. Because even though I started with a gallon of water, I'm almost expecting maybe 10 to 11 cups of the final, kind of the final volume. So let me actually just pull over the trash can. I want all that yummy goodness, because that yummy goodness is going to form the basis of the stir-fry sauce that we're going to make on Saturday. And that'll be at about 12 Pacific, I think is what time we're going to do that. Yes, vegetable. Yeah, it's a vegetable broth. The Saturday we're doing stir-fry stuff, and as a basis for one of the versions of the stir-fry sauce, I'm making sort of a vegetarian-friendly version for what I think would be obvious reasons to you. So then that way, this can be used by those that, for whatever reason, do not consume meat. Oh, Mrs. Weso just walked in the door. Hey, baby.
Mrs. Weso is here.
Yep.
How's it going?
Good. Japchae is done.
Nice.
I am just...
Nice.
I am just...
Hi, all.
This is Mrs. Weso.
Mwah.
Hey, baby.
Okay, I'm leaving. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye. Here's Japchae if you're hungry.
I am.
There's a bowl over here on
Okay.
the counter for you.
Okay. I just walked in the door, though.
I know, but sometimes you are hungry.
Yeah.
Okay, let's strain this. Excellent. You like these mitts? These are technically welding gloves. Big old terry mitts. Chat says hi, by the way.
Who?
Chat?
Yeah, I'll jump on.
Okay. Oh, she's going to go jump on her laptop. And go be a mod. Nice. And there we go. This is a nice looking vegetable broth. You can kind of see that brownish kind of color, which is what we're aiming for. Hang on. Boop. This whole phone Stream Deck thing is actually working pretty nicely. So it's not the clearest, which the French may not be terribly happy about. I mean, if I really wanted to, I suppose I can go the full-on consomme route and strain it out. But to be honest, for what we're using it for, it's so not necessary. Yeah, it just flat out isn't. So, hey, there she is. Goodbye. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, there's some other welding gloves that are out there that are like full-on leather ones, but these terry ones are good up to, I think, 500, maybe 500 or 600 Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in civilized world units. But yeah, they're fantastic. This is actually my second set. I've already gone through one. So, at any rate, that is what I've got going on today. Hey, Rav. Yeah, thanks. It's my battle apron. Because, I've... ever since I was a kid, I've always maintained that it's a battle in the kitchen. Because you're always fighting or, trying to, get things done in a timely manner. And so, okay, so it's 260 Celsius. All right. Yeah, so I'm repping, UTA. Got this sweet Twitch patch, and then the new wave of Nice Middle Buds, repping them. I got to put on my Seven Kingdoms and Lords of the Trident patches, and then at some point I will make an Aether Realm patch and then send them some money for it, just because that's kind of that's the Aether Realm way, is sign a bottle of hot sauce and Jane's sniffing around at my feet. It's like, I smell something good. That's Jane's superpowers. He's always hungry. Yeah, Pogger Patch would be kind of cool. That'd be a lot of fun. So, yeah. Unless there's any additional questions, that's it for me this evening. Oh, Ravenous Patch would be fantastic. Rav, do you guys have patches in your merch store? I can hear Mrs. Weso listening in the back room. I can't handle the power of a Ravenous Patch. Oh, them's fighting words, buddy. So, alright, folks. Well, that is it for me. Hopefully, y'all have found this entertaining. I've had a good time. I'm looking forward to Saturday. And, yeah, don't threaten me with a good time. I can hear her listening because I can hear the volume coming from the other room, Billy Bob. Oh, you're sold out. Ah, bummer. I suppose I could just go get the CD booklet and just kind of pin it on there, but then it'd get all messed up, and I don't want to mess it up because I really like that CD. Ravenous EH's CD from last year, fantastic album. Really, really enjoyed it. Glad I jumped in on that when I did. Looking forward to what you guys have got coming out next. Because, yeah, and when you guys played with UTA, great performance, by the way. Rav, you joke, but I don't be too surprised if I do print out a picture of your face, laminate it, and then pin it on for the next stream. When people dare me to do something like that, then I usually I'm like, okay, I'm in. That's the reason for the handlebar stash. So, anyways, thanks, Rav. I appreciate that. Mrs. Hueso and a bunch of my family have been telling me for years that I need to make videos, and I started, but it was kind of a rocky thing, and for whatever reason, I didn't really stick with it, but streaming really kind of seemed like the direction that I should go. I love talking about food. I love teaching about food, and I have a great time doing it. And it's been a lot of fun doing this and figuring things out, learning about what kind of crazy tech that I got going on, and next I need to figure out how to get like channel point redeems, and so periodically when we're talking about something and I'm gonna tell you that somebody's very wrong, I'll be able to hit a button and have Charlie Murphy pop out and go wrong, or something like that. But that's a whole other thing. Apparently I have to set up a nested scene in order to make that happen, although I did get the alerts done, so woo! Yeah, you know what, AJ, it would be hopefully I will hit affiliate soon, to be honest. Hey, there's Jane. You can see him laying on the mat back there. I'm really close. I have to stream a total of 7 days within a month. This is technically day 4, so in 3 more days. You have to stream, I think it's like 7 or 8 hours. And I think after today, I will be at about 6.5. So I'm super close. Followers, you have to have at least 50. And at the moment, I have, I think, 42. So close there. And yeah, but then I'll be able to hit affiliate. And then we can have all sorts of fun with, emotes and dance parties, bad karaoke, all the kind of the fun things that I have planned, like doing cooking video reactions, where we sit down and we pull up, either videos that you guys are like, hey, you should check this out. I'm curious what your opinion is of it. Or I'm like, hey, you guys need to see this really awesome Korean street food video, because that's what I seem to watch a lot of, is Korean and Japanese street food videos that have no real talking in them, or very little, and there's no subtitles, but I'm just sitting there watching the food, and because it's amazing. Yeah, got a lot of really cool things planned out, kind of down the road. Yeah, street food really is the best. It's amazing. So, thank you so much, everybody. I will see probably a chunk of you later, because I think Grant's planning on streaming. So I'll probably catch some of you in that chat. If not, I think Diaz Mally is currently, I think she's doing her, what is that? Is that today? I don't remember. Shredfest. I think she's doing her Shredfest set right now. So, oh shoot, if we can raid her, let's go raid Mally, because Mally is awesome. And yeah, I'm down. Let's see if we can figure this out. No, it is not. Okay. I think I technically have to put this in chat, and I have no idea. I've never done this before. And hopefully that works. And then we'll send everybody over to Mally, and she plays bass. She's an insanely talented woman, musically, technically. Yeah, she's just a super sweet person too. We love her. I think everybody who knows her loves her. So thank you so much, everybody. You've been awesome. I've had a great time, and I'm looking forward to everything just getting better. So let's see if this works. Nice! It worked. That is very cool. I can learn stuff. See ya! Raid! Is it taking us there?